Right now at 6, area firefighters battle a fire and heat exhaustion in Berry County, Missouri.
And we have an alert day today. We've got the potential for severe thunderstorms later this evening into the early overnight hours. We'll take a look at the forecast, get you out the door, and talk about the heat that comes before that coming up.
Plus, the courthouse in Carthage, Missouri reopens for business after extensive water damage shut it down.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is Thursday, the July 4th. It is the 4th of
July.
July. It is the July 4th.
The one and only.
This day is more thee than any of the other days.
So true. Yes, happy Independence Day to you all at home. Fun fact, it's also the 100th anniversary of the Caesar salad. Did you know that?
I did not, and I love Caesar salad.
I do too. I'm
That's
like,
really
I'll be
good.
Celebrating that later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that is definitely worth celebrating. Hopefully you're at home, relaxing with family, friends. But if you've got plans today, there's 2 things you got to watch out for. We got dangerous heat.
Yes.
And then in time to set off the fireworks, Mother Nature said, I'm going to bring my own. And we are looking at that potential for some severe weather later today. Let's start with a quick look outside from our camera on top of the Cornell complex in downtown Joplin. It is cloudy thanks to some dying showers and storms out around the area. They're quickly pushing off to the east. Another look at those clouds from our camera at 7th and Range Line and the MoDOT camera 32nd and Range Line dry. Now earlier, the Joplin Airport, which if you're unfamiliar with its location, it is on the extreme northern edge of the city, was reporting a rain shower. But as you look at all the cameras down the southern end, the main part of the city didn't really rain much. This is all that's left is these showers and a few thunderstorms in there. Nothing strong, nothing severe. These storms were severe. They were that complex we were a little worried about, the rolling through overnight. Thankfully, it weakened before it got here, but it was severe before it rolled into our area. We still have these showers, so Osceola, Stockton, Greenfield, getting ready to get in on some heavier rain out there as this continues again to rather quickly roll off to the east. And as it does so, it's going to leave us hot and muggy out there and then set the stage for our strong to severe thunderstorm chances later this evening. We do have a low tornado risk. It's relatively low, but it's unfortunately not zero, mainly into the Missouri side. We have a low hail risk across the entire area, but the bigger concern is going to be with that elevated wind risk with winds 60, 70 miles an hour. On top of that, we also have heat advisories. Now, since yesterday, a couple of changes. 1, Newton County was added to the heat advisory. And 2, the ones into southwest Missouri were extended through 9. Previously, they were through 8. Now they're extended through 9 this evening. Heat index values in those areas could be up to 110. The rest of us about 100 to 105. So these storms are going to be gone rather quickly. And then after 4 or 5 o'clock, we're going to see thunderstorms redevelop across the area as this stalled front starts to actually shift off to through the area. However, that's going to unfortunately potentially ruin some of your fireworks plans tonight. So make sure you are prepared for that. Make sure you got a safe place to go if you get caught under one of these storms. Back behind this boundary right now where some of that rain has been, upper 60s, low 70s. Ahead of it, we're into the upper 70s and low 80s out there. Our highs today, upper 90s, will be dry in between our morning rain and our evening storms and quite hot out there. And then again, we got those thunderstorms rolling in later tonight. We'll have a full look at your forecast, break down the timing on these storms and the impact the cold front has on us in just a few more minutes, Elise.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, controlled burn in Jasper County, Missouri gets out of control yesterday afternoon just north of Denoeg. Authorities say it spread quickly, covering about 25 acres, but did not threaten any buildings. Firefighters tell us despite some recent rain, much of the area is still relatively dry. Area fire departments ask the public to reach out to them before performing a controlled burn. Local firefighters recover after battling a fire in the high heat index. When crews responded to a house fire near Golden City, Missouri late Tuesday afternoon, the house was already engulfed with flames visible from all sides. One firefighter was taken to the hospital for heat exhaustion and smoke inhalation. A second was treated on the scene. The house was a total loss. Authorities conclude an investigation into the discovery of a body at the scene of a house fire in Anderson, Missouri. The fire happened early Monday on Park Street. Authorities found a woman's body inside the home. Now an investigation and autopsy indicate the woman, 52-year-old Gina McCormick, set fire to the building, then fatally shot herself. Authorities say they do not suspect foul play. And to be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, you can download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. Well, taxpayers can now resume conducting business with the Jasper County Collector's Office in Carthage. The office is one that was affected by a burst pipe earlier this year. Its flooding damage was so severe that the office had to be stripped down. However, issues were made worse when lead-based paint and asbestos were discovered. Staff and taxpayers all were sent to the collector's office in Joplin to conduct their business.
Took care of what we need to take care of. Sadly, taxpayers all had to go over there. They needed a waiver or other things. Some things they could do online or they could mail it in. But if they needed a waiver, that required them going in person. And so it was an inconvenience to the taxpayers. And we knew that, but we had no choice.
County Collector McIntosh says he's grateful for the public's patience during the past half year. The Chanute Public Library gave kids a chance to fly a tablet-controlled drone. The drones, a part of the library's summer program, were utilized to encourage kids to visit their local library. Officials said they wanted to make sure children knew that libraries had more to offer than just books.
This is the ongoing programs, and we also have all different kind of variety of activities, including these drones, and then also all different kind of activities like story time, and then we have the guests like jugglers, and then the zoo people from the Topeka Zoo, and then all different kind of activities.
Flights got off the ground at 10 a.m. and anyone in attendance was encouraged to give piloting a shot. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. 4 NASA volunteers will be returning to Earth this weekend after spending the past year on Mars. Plus, President Joe Biden is rejecting calls for him to bow out of the 2024 presidential campaign. And Chris Warner returns with another look at your 4th of July forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning. A federal judge in Texas delayed a ban on non-compete clauses for employees. The judge wrote the court plans to have a ruling on the merits of the action by the end of August. The ban would prevent employers from imposing non-compete deals for most already active agreements. The ban, which was scheduled to take effect in September, was approved by the Federal Trade Commission in April. But less than 24 hours after that, the agency was sued by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and several businesses, including a Texas-based tax services and software provider. The FTC says roughly 20% of all U.S. workers have a non-compete clause in their current jobs. Officials say this hinders their chances of getting a better employment opportunity elsewhere. The personal information of more than 1,000 Ticketmaster customers has been exposed in a data breach. Ticketmaster confirmed that hackers obtained information including emails, phone numbers, and credit card numbers. The data was stolen between April 2nd and May 18th. Customers who bought tickets in North America were put at risk, and Ticketmaster believes all customers affected by the breach have been notified. The company is offering identity monitoring services to those who enroll within 90 days of receiving the notice. Customers are advised to monitor their credit and bank accounts for signs of suspicious activity. Well, 4 NASA volunteers will be returning to Earth this weekend after spending the past year on Mars. The crew members never actually left the Earth's surface, but they've been living inside NASA's Mars habitat at Johnson Space Center in Houston since June 25th, 2023. The 3D printed habitat spanned 1,700 square feet and simulated a realistic Mars environment. The crew simulated Mars missions, operations, and dealt with conditions astronauts would experience on a real Mars mission. including communication delays with Earth. They also had to grow their own vegetables, and NASA will be using data from the mission to determine how to best support crew health and performance while living on the red planet on an actual mission. Well, this July 4th, President Joe Biden is rejecting calls for him to bow out of the 2024 presidential campaign and is making a public push to shore up support among his fellow Democrats. Yesterday, he met with Democratic governors at the White House, and it all comes as a second House Democrat is pushing for Biden's withdrawal. CBS News' Leah Mishkin has more from London as the president is also gearing up to host world leaders next week.
The governors have his back.
Multiple Democratic state governors closed ranks around President Joe Biden after meeting with him at the White House Wednesday.
President Joe Biden is in it to win it. And all of us said we pledged our support to him.
It comes as the president works to reassure his fellow Democrats of fitness for office after last week's poor debate performance, which he addressed in a radio interview yesterday.
I had a bad night. I screwed up. I made a mistake. That's 90 minutes on stage. Look at what I've done in 3.5 years.
The same day, the president also told his campaign staff, quote, "Let me say this as clearly as I possibly can and as simply and straightforward as I can. I am running. No one's pushing me out. I'm not leaving." But already at least 2 sitting House Democrats from Texas and Arizona have called on Biden to step down. A senior House Democrat tells CBS News that number could grow in the coming days, as a new CBS News poll now shows former President Donald Trump with a slight edge nationwide among battleground state voters.
I would prefer to have another choice.
I believe that if there's anybody right now that can beat Trump, it's Biden.
Tomorrow, President Biden will rally in Wisconsin and sit down for a television interview. Next week, another big test with the president hosting the NATO summit in Washington. Leah Mishkin, CBS News.
Vice President Kamala Harris has been floated by some Democrats, such as South Carolina Congressman James Clyburn, as a possible replacement for President Biden at the top of the ticket. CBS News asked Harris if she was ready to lead Tuesday, and she replied that she is proud to be Biden's running mate. And that's a look at some of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we're starting with a look at the Skywatch storm tracker. We've still got a few isolated showers, couple of rumbles of thunder out there as this complex that was severe overnight out to our west continues to quickly roll off to the east. Now, once it moves on through, it is going to be hot, it's going to be muggy, and then we have an alert day for the possibility of severe weather later this evening. We'll break down the details on our 4th of July forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Well, there's a DJ who's keeping the music alive in Rhode Island, and it's in her namesake restaurant. Shayna Ilario has Down syndrome, but that doesn't prevent her from creating set lists and bringing smiles to customers. Sam Reed reports.
Off of Brown Street in Wickford, employees of Shayna's Place are getting orders out amongst the hustle and bustle of the busy cafe.
Best part is just coming in every day, and it's a very happy place.
Here, you can get a sandwich that's been voted top 50 in America by Yelp. But in the back, there's a DJ booth, and the person in it is one in a million.
Shayna. Every person has special gifts, and people that have special needs, they all have special gifts.
6 days a week, Shayna Ilario is mixing the music.
Shayna turned 30 in February, but she's been the family DJ since she was a little girl.
From noon until 3, she's busting out the beats for all to enjoy.
It's definitely something that motivates her, and so she's found a way to use it to bless people.
Born with Down syndrome, her family opened the business that bears her name in 2015 because they believe inclusion is extremely important.
That extra chromosome is still a mystery in the medical community, and we find that she blows our minds every day.
Each day, they say, she prepares what she plays.
She's up very early in the morning, sometimes at 5 a.m., and she writes her set lists out, and she has hundreds of notebooks.
Typically, there's a theme, and she's serious about her sets.
We think she has like 500 songs plus memorized.
As anyone knows, things can get hectic, and that's something that Shayna can sense. And when her coworkers need a minute, or just good music and company, she's always there.
And it's wonderful having a staff that loves her so much, and she loves them. It makes just getting up every day no matter what you're going through, she makes it all just a little better every day.
Showing you something good. I'm Sam Lee.
Great to see her bringing smiles to others' faces. Now here's Chris with a quick look at your forecast.
Yeah, we do have an alert day today. Strong to severe thunderstorms possible later this evening. We're going to break down the details when the KOAM Morning News returns. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 622 on this 4th of July here in the 4 states. And it's going to be hot and then it's going to be stormy as we head into the evening hours. So let's take a look first. Skywatch Storm Tracker. If you recall, at the start of the morning show at 5, this complex was way to the west. It is continuing to push off to the east very quickly. Nothing severe, nothing strong, nor has it been. It was severe, but thankfully it weakened right as it was entering our area. But you can take a look back all the way to about 4:30 and just see how quickly this complex has just rolled on through the area, and it will exit. And it honestly, I think, is going to be gone in the next 45 minutes completely. But we're going to see more thunderstorms later this evening. We do have a low tornado risk. It's relatively low. It's not zero, but it is fairly low, but it's mainly into the Missouri side. Then we have a low hail risk across the entire area, but the bigger concern with our storms tonight is the wind. That's why there's an elevated wind risk. We're looking at winds 60, 70 miles an hour out of these storms. So again, the current showers and storms out there now will be gone very soon. We will be hot. We will be dry until we head into the evening hours. And by about 5 o'clock, that's when we see these thunderstorms start to get triggered off out there. Now, initially, they're into parts of extreme southern Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, but it does not take long for them to really start to overspread the area. So not everybody will see rain all at once, but as you can see, we've got a number of thunderstorms out there by 9 o'clock tonight, and this is where our window for severe thunderstorms is going to be as a frontal boundary. It's kind of been stalled out around us the last day or so. Will eventually start to move out, and as it does, it's also going to trigger off these storms. You can see by 10 o'clock still dealing with strong, potentially severe thunderstorms for some of us, and then that front finally pushes through and kicks those storms out of here sometime after midnight. And that's been one of the key disagreements in the model data, is just how quickly that front pushes those storms out. It's been back and forth. The other day it was midnight, then yesterday it was as early as 10 o'clock. Now we're back to midnight. So if you have 4th of July plans, make sure you get the KOAM Skywatch weather app to stay ahead of everything tonight. And of course, we'll be here monitoring that for you as well. Heat advisories, again, our southern counties through 9 o'clock this evening. Heat index values within these advisories could reach 110. Outside of that, we could still see dangerous heat of 100 to 105. 77 in Joplin. Again, the storms dying out gave us some pretty gusty winds. North breeze at 14, gusting to 22. Feels like 79 in Joplin. So we have this little boundary. This is that boundary, and it's going to end up retreating a little bit back to the northwest and bringing in more warm, moist air across the area to set off additional storms as it finally makes up its mind and will shift out of here. So back behind it and back behind the rain, upper 60s, low 70s. Out ahead where we have seen no rain, upper 70s and low 80s, and those heat index values for many of us into the low to even mid 80s across the area. Again, except where you've got behind that boundary, behind some rain, it's a little more refreshing this morning. Unfortunately, all of us going to heat up. So we put these thunderstorm chances maybe through 9, but again, that system, it's really picked up some speed. I think we're going to be done probably before this. So we're looking at partly cloudy skies through the morning. We'll be close to 90 by 11 o'clock, and that is ahead of highs across the region into the upper 90s out there with those partly cloudy skies. And then again, once we get about 5 o'clock or so, that's when we start to see these thunderstorms fire off, and they again could be strong to severe. All hazards, as we mentioned earlier, are possible, but the greatest concern is going to be with damaging wind gusts. And this is, if you've been watching all morning, I did not update that number. I knew something was amiss. That's how big of a difference we're going to experience behind this front. Is look at this, even through 10, still into the low 80s, but once the front passes through, we'll eventually cruise on down into the mid 60s. That keeps us a little cooler for our Friday. We heat back up Saturday and Sunday, more storms Sunday, cool us down briefly again next week, and we see the mid 90s return as well as pop-up storm chances. That's a check of your forecast. We're going to send it over to Elise now with Health Watch.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, pasteurization is effective at eliminating avian flu in milk. That's according to research by the American Society for Microbiology. Data shows the pasteurization process inactivates the highly infectious disease. Bird flu has recently infected 200 animals and 3 people in the U.S. Experts say this is further evidence that raw milk can be dangerous and encourage bacterial growth. Untreated water by a cucumber grower is one likely source of a salmonella outbreak in the U.S. The FDA and CDC say 450 people have gotten sick and 125 people hospitalized this spring. A salmonella strain matching the illnesses was linked to a canal water used in the soil of a Florida cucumber farm. And social media is making it harder for young people to make dating decisions. A study in India finds social media and dating apps distort the reality of potential dating partners. More than half of young people say they felt confused about their dating options, with a decrease in social interactions contributing to the problem. And that's a look at today's top health stories. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, the 4th of July festivities around the 4 states roll on last night in Carl Junction.
And we have an alert day today for the possibility of severe thunderstorms later this evening. Could inconvenience some of our 4th of July plans. We'll have a look at that forecast, get you out the door coming up.
Plus, some area international students celebrate and learn about the 4th of July.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is the 4th of July. So happy Independence Day to all of you folks out there. And it's Thursday, so many of you get a long weekend too. Not everybody.
No, not us.
Like us, for example, no long weekends here. But that's because somebody's got to tell you what's going on, right?
Right.
And that's what we're here to do, and that's why we do it.
There's a lot going on today that you need to tell us about.
There is. We do have the possibility of severe weather later this evening. We also have more dangerous heat across the area. Let's start first with a look outside. We got clouds out there this morning. We've had some showers and thunderstorms. Those are quickly rolling out of the area. It's our camera 7th in range line. MoDOT camera 32nd in range line. Just another view of the clouds out there. These will eventually begin to break up a bit and we'll get pretty toasty. This is all that's left of the shower and thunderstorm complex. Now, initially it was severe out to our west. Thankfully, it weakened before it got here, just bringing some much needed rain, and it is otherwise continuing to die out, but it raced across the area, as you can see, very quickly in the last about 3 hours or so. It's made quick work of our area here. We do have that threat for severe weather later this evening, and at this point, it does come with a threat for all severe hazards. We do have a low tornado risk. It's relatively low, but it's not zero, mainly in the Missouri. A low hail risk across the entire region, but our bigger concern is with that elevated risk for damaging wind gusts, 60, 70 miles an hour possible. On top of that, in our southern counties, we have heat advisories that run through 9 this evening. So in the heat advisory areas, heat index values could reach upwards of 110 degrees again. Outside of that, even though there aren't advisories in the northern half, we could still be looking at heat index values of 100 to 105. So as we head into the afternoon, it's going to be, again, hot. It's going to be partly to mostly cloudy, and it won't be until after about 4 or 5 o'clock that we start to see thunderstorm initiation take place across the area. And at this point, unfortunately, these storms could last as late as midnight for some of us, and that could ruin some of your plans. So do make sure that you are keeping an eye on the weather. Make sure you check with whatever the event you may be going to is. Make sure it's still happening, hasn't been postponed, or whatever the case may be. Just be prepared out there. And if you are just doing something at your house, keep an eye to the sky and be prepared to go inside if you need to. We do have this frontal boundary. It's stalled out across the area, and eventually it's going to retreat back to the northwest. So right now, if you're behind it and you got some rain, it's much cooler. Upper 60s, low 70s. Ahead of it, it's upper 70s and low 80s out there, and that frontal boundary is going to be the trigger for our thunderstorm chances later tonight. In between, again, we're going to look at partly cloudy skies. Thunderstorms increasing tonight. Our highs today into the upper 90s across the area, so another hot one for sure. Well, another look at your forecast, break down details on these thunderstorm chances and the effects of this cool front here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
Chris, thanks. Well, the 4th of July festivities around the 4 states rolled on last night in Carl Junction, Missouri. Carl Junction Area Chamber of Commerce hosted the Firecracker on Wheels decorating party. Kids of all ages could come out with everything from bikes to trikes to scooters to anything else with wheels and decorate them in patriotic style.
But what we've done is usually we have lots of kids that'll show up and they bring their bikes and decorate them. So instead of them having to do that early in the morning, we offer the building for them to come so that they can decorate their bikes here this evening. Our church leaders, they're out there decorating the church float, so we're getting all that done tonight too.
Kids will ride their patriotic wheels during Carl Junction's 4th of July parade. Well, a church in Joplin is also getting in on the 4th of July action. Celebration Church yesterday hosted a celebration of freedom. The family-friendly event featured food, bounce houses, games, worship, and capped off with an outdoor movie viewing. Officials say it's a way to bring the community together.
It makes me feel great. This year, it's election year. It can be divisive for people. This is a time, no matter what background, just to come together and just, celebrate our freedom and the goodness of where we live.
Very important holiday, one of my favorites. It's where I'm able to go out and just show how much I love my country, how much I appreciate the people I know and everyone, all the veterans. Just a way for me to show my gratitude to my country.
The event also had live music, kickball, and cornhole. Well, some international students at Pitt State got a head start on Independence Day celebrations. The intensive English program held its own party yesterday with about 60 Japanese and Taiwanese students. They got to share food, experiences, and learn about what the holiday means to the nation.
To expect with what kinds of foods they're going to see, how it's celebrated, and to also learn about what it's all about. Because coming from different countries, they don't fully know what that history is. So we get to be able to kind of teach them and prepare them for what's going on.
The intensive English class will also be hosting a canoe and kayaking event with lawn games and a cookout at the University Lake on July 16th. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. We'll have some important tips on how to keep your outdoor celebrations safe this holiday season. And thunderstorm chances return. We'll have what to expect with Chris Warner in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, millions of Americans use fireworks at home during the 4th of July, but safety advocates are expecting thousands of injuries this year. Nancy Chen has some important tips to keep your outdoor celebrations safe.
These demonstrations with mannequins are recreations of real-life accidents involving fireworks. A new report shows there were 9,700 fireworks-related injuries last year and 8 deaths. Those numbers are down from the pandemic years, when more Americans used fireworks at home instead of heading to crowded professional displays.
Last couple of years, we've seen the numbers go down, which is great. But again, there's still way too many injuries and deaths.
Alex Hohensarik is chair of the Consumer Product Safety Commission and says use of illegal fireworks is a major problem. Last year in Ottawa County, Michigan, a blast from a homemade device shattered nearby car windows and killed one woman who was hit by shrapnel. But even legal fireworks you find in stores can be dangerous if not used properly. Of the 9,700 ER visits last year, 42% of patients were treated for burns. Many of those burns were caused by sparklers, which are often given to kids.
They burn at about 2,000 degrees, which is the same temperature as some blowtorches. If you wouldn't give a kid a blowtorch, which you shouldn't do, you really shouldn't give them a sparkler either.
Safety advocates say if you do plan to use fireworks at home, remember the acronym WOW. W for water, have it handy to douse fires. O for one at a time, never light off multiple fireworks. And W for walk away once it's lit. Of course, you can always head to a public display and leave the fireworks to the professionals. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
Well, General Motors will pay a nearly $146 million penalty and forfeit emissions credits to settle claims that some of its vehicles released excess carbon. The EPA found that nearly 6 million models made from 2012 to 2018 released carbon dioxide at a rate that was 10% higher than the automaker's compliance reports had reported. GM has denied any wrongdoing and says it remains committed to reducing auto emissions. An important consumer alert about a sound machine for babies. Hatch Baby is recalling more than 900,000 power adapters sold with Rest First generation sound machines because they pose an electrical shock hazard. At least 2 people have suffered minor shocks, and customers should stop using the recalled adapters immediately and contact Hatch for a free replacement. And 66% of Americans are expected to celebrate this July 4th with a cookout or barbecue, according to the National Retail Federation. The menu will be extra special for those serving up Caesar salad. That's because today marks 100 years since the popular dish was invented by Italian immigrants at a restaurant in Tijuana, Mexico. That's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, we have an alert day today for the possibility of severe weather later this evening. We're going to dive into detail on that in just a few moments. But first, quick look just for those of you who maybe are rushing out the door. Maybe you're going to go to the grocery store, get a few last minute things for the 4th. We got cloudy skies from our camera on the Cornell Complex, downtown Joplin. Same from 7th and Rangeline. You see a little daylight on the shopping center there. These clouds will break up and we're going to start to heat up out there. Cloudy skies looking to the south from the MoDOT camera at 32nd and Rangeline as well. Skywatch Storm Tracker is just about void of activity now. The last of this is now, the bulk of it's outside of our area. Still some showers around Stockton, Osceola, but that's really about it. This complex racing through the area over the last 3 hours and thankfully not severe, but again, that changes by this evening. We do have a low tornado threat, for maybe an isolated tornado, mainly into the Missouri side. We have a low hail risk across the entire area, but again, the bigger concern is the elevated wind risk, where we could see these winds tonight gusting upwards of 60, 70 miles an hour. We're going to have another full look at your forecast, break down the timing on these storms tonight and what happens behind this cold front in just a moment. We're also going to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but first, let's see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Nate Burleson. Coming up on CBS Mornings, as the number of male military spouses grows, we'll introduce you to a man on a mission to connect military husbands with each other for support and guidance. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
All right, time for some Thursday birthdays here in the 4 states. Some 4th of July birthdays, starting with Tyson Watkins in Chanute, celebrating number 13. It says happy birthday from Mom, Jesse, and your little brothers.
And a happy 72nd birthday to Patricia Wallace, who is also celebrating her 24th anniversary with Archie Wallace. It says here, happy birthday and happy anniversary to 2 very special people from Barbara.
All right, and over in Lamar, Marlene Cox celebrating birthday number 81. A very happy birthday to you, Marlene.
And a happy birthday to Helen, who is a resident at Carrington Place Senior Living. Happy birthday.
And we've got Linda Jeffries in Columbus celebrating another year wiser. Happy birthday, Linda.
And over in Parsons, a happy 27th anniversary to Ryan and Misty Burke.
All right, that's another, of course, fantastic list of birthdays and anniversaries. We love doing this with you every morning. And if you'd like to celebrate with us, Elise has the information for you on what you can do.
Yes, go ahead and submit your birthdays and anniversaries to birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com. Be sure to include any messages or photos that you so desire. And when submitting your celebration, be sure to include the date in which you want it to be celebrated.
That's right, because if you don't put the date on there, when we receive it, we just presume it must be the next day. So you got to make sure you put that date on there so it airs on the appropriate date. All right, we're going to start with one more quick look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker. The last 3 hours of this thunderstorm complex, again, it was severe out to our west, and this is the one we were concerned about the last couple of days. Thankfully, it weakened as it got into our area and just brought some much-needed rainfall out there, but it is now on the flip side here, leaving. Again, we do have that risk for an isolated tornado, mainly into Missouri as we head into the evening hours. We have a low risk for some large damaging hail out there, but again, the greater concern, the elevated risk for those winds gusting 60, 70 miles an hour with some of the storms this evening. So, thunderstorm complex exits this morning. That leaves us partly to mostly cloudy across the area. That does not stop us from heating back up as we have this boundary out here that, again, it retreats a little further to the northwest as we go through the day, and that allows most of us to get into the upper 90s. And we've got heat index values in our southern counties that can be up to 110, the rest of us 100 to 105. By 5, that's when we start to see the catalyst of these showers and storms get going out there. And as they develop and push through in the evening, it does look as though they could ruin the plans of a few of us for our 4th of July. By 9, you can see we've got these scattered storms across a good portion of the area. And this is where our window for severe weather is from 5 to about 11 o'clock tonight. That's been the other issues, the timing on how quickly this boundary pushes these storms out of here. A couple of days ago, it had them lasting through midnight. Yesterday, it sped up the boundary, said it was going to move a little faster, had them out of here by 10. New updates this morning now have them sticking around back through midnight, and you can see still widespread thunderstorms, and they'll remain in that strong to severe category through the majority of the evening and late night hours across the area, so do be prepared for that. There's a look at those heat advisories again down to the south. They've run through 9 this evening for those dangerous heat index values out there. Quick look outside for us. 77 in Joplin. These clouds again trying to break up. 70. I already said 77. 79 is what it feels like though. North breeze at 14, gusts to 22. As we got on the backside of those showers, didn't really rain much in Joplin, but the winds off those dying thunderstorms really picked up for a bit out there. Here's a look at that boundary, and so where the rain has been and those behind that boundary, it is a pretty refreshing start to the day. Upper 60s, low 70s. However, for those of us ahead of it, didn't see any rain, upper 70s and low 80s. And again, ahead of that boundary where the rain did not fall, heat index values in the low to mid 80s out there. So again, a sticky start for some, a refreshing start for others. As we get the morning underway, we're going to be mostly cloudy back behind those showers and storms from this morning, and then getting a mix of sun and clouds as we go through the day, right around 90 as we head toward the late morning hours. As we head into the afternoon, again, temperatures today looking to be upper 90s across the area, partly cloudy skies. Heat index values, again, anywhere in that range from 100 to 110. As we head into the evening, thunderstorms, they begin to increase out there, and that's where our severe window is. But that's what I want to talk about too, is this cold front and all the wonders it does for us. Take a look before it shifts through. Look at these temperatures, still close to the mid 80s by 10 o'clock. And then eventually we reach overnight lows back into the mid to upper 60s across the area. So very refreshing to say the least. And that'll keep us a little cooler tomorrow as well. Mid 80s, mostly clear skies. Sunny for us on Saturday. The heat returning into the weekend, as do some thunderstorm chances. And that'll cool us down again briefly as we kick off next week. But then the mid 90s return by the end of the week, as do the opportunities for some pop-up showers and thunderstorms. That's a check of your forecast, and coming up a little later when we join you over on Fox 14 at 7 a.m., we're going to see how one man in Michigan who is partially paralyzed is preparing for the U.S. Adaptive Open.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Authorities conclude an investigation into the discovery of a body at the scene of a house fire in Anderson, Missouri. The fire happened early Monday on Park Street, and authorities found a woman's body inside the home. Now an investigation and autopsy indicate the woman, 52-year-old Gina McCormick, set fire to the building, then fatally shot herself. Authorities say they do not suspect foul play. And taxpayers can now resume conducting business with the Jasper County Collector's Office in Carthage. The office is one that was affected by a burst pipe earlier this year, as flooding damage was so severe that the office had to be stripped down. However, issues were made worse when lead-based paint and asbestos were discovered. Staff and taxpayers all were sent to the Collector's Office in Joplin to conduct their business. The Joplin Public Library in Chanute, Kansas yesterday gave kids a chance to fly some drones. The drones, a part of the library's summer program, were to encourage kids to visit their local library. Organizers say they want to make sure kids know libraries offer more than just books, and they can also have fun in an educational setting. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And we have that alert day today. Again, strong to severe thunderstorms possible this evening. Ahead of that, though, clouds will begin to eventually clear a little out there. We'll go near 90 by 11 o'clock this morning. Highs today, upper 90s in our southern counties with those heat advisories. We're talking the possibility of heat index values to 110. The rest of us, 100 to 105. After about 5 o'clock is when we see thunderstorms developing along that cold front, and they could be strong to severe. Now, all hazards are possible, but the greatest concern this evening is going to be with damaging wind gusts. 60, 70 miles an hour out there. But take a look at what this cold front does for us. 84 at 10 o'clock, overnight lows back into the mid-60s, and that'll keep us a little cooler for tomorrow as well, mid-80s. Heating up for the weekend, more storms Sunday, and hot again by the end of next week with more pop-up storm chances.
Alrighty. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making watermelon lemonade in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. As we celebrate the 4th of July, many feel the American dream is fading. Next on CBS Mornings, here's some unfiltered conversations with voters about the state of democracy and what concerns them most in the 2024 race.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we'll see a special project coming in 2026 that honors the stories of America's first veterans.
Plus, Dustin Luno from Joplin Fire Department joins us in the studio to talk about how you can stay safe when you're setting off those fireworks, because that is an imperative thing. Don't do crazy stuff.
Don't do crazy stuff. For yourself, for your neighbors, for your family.
Don't put your fireworks in your mailbox or trees or anything else like that. Just, be safe, be responsible. Dustin's got some great tips for you, but that's only if you join us at 7 a.m. We will be back here tomorrow morning, though, at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you today at noon.